I say I have an all-star team that, it's a pleasure to work with this group. I feel honored to be having this role at this point in my career. Uh, but having such a great team to work with and technology that is so next level. The opportunity of potentially taking stem cell products but removing the need for lifelong immunosuppression is tremendous.
Welcome and thank you for joining us for the Virtual Investor On Demand Summer Spotlight What's Your Story series. My name is Janine Thomas. I am CEO of JTCIR, and today we are featuring Dr. Anthony Japour. He is Chief Executive Officer and President of iTolerance. Welcome, Anthony.
Hi, Janine. Thanks for having me.
Always happy to have you. Before I turn it over to Anthony, I'd like to remind our audience that the company will be making forward-looking statements, and I encourage everyone to view the company's website at iTolerance.com for their latest information. All right, Anthony, we're just going to dive right in. Over to you. We want to hear your story. So if you can start with telling us a little bit about yourself and your journey to CEO of iTolerance.
Well, ever since I was a child, 4 years old, I always wanted to be a doctor. I used to walk around with a doctor's bag, and everyone's like, this child, at 4 years old. The only problem was my mother didn't want me to be a doctor. She encouraged me to consider being an attorney, a lawyer, or an accountant, or a dentist, but she didn't really love the idea of me being a doctor. So when I got to college, I was actually pre-dental, went to dental school at Harvard, and after my first year there, realized I really was not on the right track and took a leave of absence, reapplied, went to medical school, and went from there into medicine. During my year off, I did research at Children's Hospital, and that's what got me interested in doing research, which I continued throughout medical school and went back to Boston for my residency and fellowship in infectious diseases, and once again got involved in research. At that time, HIV was a major global pandemic. To me, HIV was like World War III. Anyone with a brain, get on board. And so I did, and got involved in clinical research, and that's how I became interested in more clinical research. I was a molecular virologist, and from there, I was recruited into the pharmaceutical industry, and my research at Harvard came to a sort of a natural conclusion. I was studying how the HIV virus mutates around the drugs, and we actually figured it out. I had a great opportunity to join Abbott Labs when I was a junior professor at Harvard, and worked on a combination of drugs for HIV, one of which became a global blockbuster called Kaletra. And it was approved by the FDA in just 3 years after we started development from phase 1 all the way to phase 3. And I got to do the global launch of the product, which exposed me more to the commercial side of the business, and also had an opportunity to do due diligence for the company, and really enjoyed in addition to the research side, really enjoyed the business side of biopharmaceuticals. And after my time at Abbott, took a sabbatical and did a lot of really interesting projects that led me to doing some pro bono work for the Diabetes Research Institute here in Miami. So I'd always been more of a supporter of the DRI here, more from the philanthropic side, going to their galas and such. But they were having some challenges working with the FDA on the regulatory aspects of islet transplantation and curative therapies for type 1 diabetes. And so I started doing some work with the DRI as well as the transplant centers across the country in more professionalizing the legal arguments for the FDA currently regulates islets as drugs as opposed to donated microorgans. And so we were working on trying to get the FDA to recognize these drugs as donated organs rather than as drugs. And through that, and multiple op-eds that we published as a group, the recruiters, when they were looking for a CEO of iTolerance, found me, and the rest is history for joining iTolerance.
Well, what a way and what a journey get there to the CEO of iTolerance. So, as you think about this journey, Anthony, was there a definitive moment that shaped your career, your focus, your passion?
Well, I think, resiliency is really important, and the setbacks are really opportunities for learning. Research doesn't go in a linear fashion. There are lots of starts and stops, and just when you think things are going great, there might be a critical reagent that you need from another country that you just can't get, and that can hold up, development. And that's happened throughout my career. Just recognizing that setbacks are really opportunities for learning and for moving forward. And I think that has probably been the most important lesson I've learned up to this point, and continue to learn even in this role.
What do you think was the catalyst for your transition from the MD side, the research side, to more of the business side?
Well, the transition from being a practicing MD to the research side, I always had an ability for mathematics and science and really enjoyed the scientific investigation. Also, the emotional side, which is really tough of being a practicing physician at such a young age, seeing so many young people, dying of HIV infection. It was quite emotionally hard, and I felt like I could do more for the greater good by being involved in research. And so, as a molecular virologist, I really learned a lot of the basic foundational concepts for all of science. So that foundation really allowed me to understand really any therapeutic area outside of HIV, including diabetes. The business side for me has always been interesting because at the end of the day, it's about getting products to patients. And you can only get there through a commercial application and approval at FDA. So I love the combination of both helping the research and then getting the product to be available for people to actually take and for doctors to prescribe. And so I think, again, part of the reason I feel like this job has really been, for me, the best job that I've ever had is really a culmination of everything I've done in the past. I understand what's involved in the basic research, in preclinical. I understand the regulatory aspects of what it takes. And then, as well, having been in big pharma and helping small biotech companies in terms of the commercialization side of getting a drug to patients.
So I often hear CEOs say that they feel like they have the weight of the world on their shoulders, and it's very lonely at times with all of the responsibility that's involved. So, Anthony, if you can talk about the things that keep you up at night, and then on the flip side, the things that motivate you every day to get up and get going and move this company forward.
Yeah, it's so true because being at the top of the organization, you do feel that everything is kind of on your shoulders, and who do you talk to, right? So I have certain mentors that I continue to call upon, people both within the high tolerance network as well as my own personal contacts that I have to sort of keep me aware of what I need to be looking for, and the chairman of our board and our former chairman were both great cheerleaders. And when things were not going so well at certain points, they kind of gave me a pep talk. And at each time, we were able to overcome the challenge, and I really appreciated their support. What keeps me up at night is timelines. Just trying to move things forward, and things are sometimes out of my control. That I can't get things to happen faster. Uh, what gets me up and excited every morning is our team. I say I have an all-star team that, it's a pleasure to work with this group. I feel honored to be having this role at this point in my career. Uh, but having such a great team to work with and technology that is so next level. The opportunity of potentially taking stem cell products but removing the need for lifelong immunosuppression is tremendous. And when I look at our scientific founders, Dr. Andres Garcia, his lab, Dr. Haval Sherwan and his lab, and what they accomplished, it definitely gets me excited to get up and keep things moving along really every day.
Excellent. So now the goal of this whole forum and format is to help our audience get to know the CEOs a little bit better. So for my next question is, can you tell us one thing that people would be surprised to know about you?
Sure, yes. I've written 3 children's books.
I love it. I love it. What are the titles? What are the titles?
So they're a series of books. It's all about a cat who starts his life homeless, or using the current term, unhoused. Starts out his life homeless in Palm Beach and becomes a prince of a castle in France. And it's based on a true story of a cat that I adopted off the streets who fell in love with another cat who was a princess of a castle, and I flew them both to France, and he lived out his days in France. And I wrote the first book, which was the story about how he came to me. And the second book is when little Anthony, which is the pen name in which I wrote the book. I didn't want my Anthony Japour as the author, so it's Little Anthony, which was actually my nickname when I was little. The second book is when I go and visit him in France, and then the third book are like the descendants of the prince and princess. It's called Bam Bam and the Little Princes, and they're all available on Amazon. I also could tell you, well, I think a lot of people know, but also we have a family art collection, and I'm very involved in contemporary art. It's all really about living in the moment and today, not worrying about yesterday or what mistakes you made yesterday, but of today and tomorrow. And so, yeah, so we have a family art collection and very involved in the art community here in Miami.
I love it. Thank you for sharing that. So before we close, I just want to ask, as you reflect on your journey to this point, how do you think your story and leadership positions iTolerance to continue to move forward in a positive way?
Well, I have only friends and future friends. I don't give up. For me, yes is yes, maybe is yes, and no is maybe. So I think you have to just keep, putting it out there as a small biotech. It's really tough today being, a preclinical company. But I think you just keep, being really positive and putting your best foot forward and really relying on your team to support you. And I have a team that is so responsive and so excited. I feel like they get up and are excited to help the company as much as I am every day. And that really makes a big difference.
Well, you certainly do have a great team. The work that you and your team are doing is tremendous for the type 1 diabetes community and beyond. Anthony, thank you for sharing your story. And I want to thank our listeners for tuning in. And if you're interested in what you heard today, I encourage you to visit iTolerance's website at itolerance.com for more information. And on their website, you can sign up to receive the alerts for the company, to follow their social channels, and stay current on the latest information. If you'd like to hear more about the Summer Spotlight, What's Your Story webcast, we encourage you to visit our website at virtualinvestorco.com. Anthony, always a pleasure. Thank you for sharing your story, and I wish everyone a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Janine.